Welcome back to the Man That Can Project podcast. We got Etienne again.
Hi.
He's the star of the show. And I'm really excited for what we're going to discuss today. We're talking about how to deal with conflict or avoid conflict. It's going to be awesome. And what I'm really also excited about is how Etienne's going to articulate it. Obviously, English is your second language, but you're very, very good. So it'll be interesting to understand your way of thinking and how you
perceive it?
Yeah, how you perceive it, and then obviously you'll probably do the same for me as I speak.
Yep.
Aussie.
Yep.
For those who know what I mean. So let's go straight to it. Like, how do you deal with conflict, or how do you? I know we spoke about this yesterday when we we're going to do this for the first time, and when I said how do you deal with conflict, your first response was I try to avoid conflict.
Yeah, and I thought it was a way of dealing with conflict, like to take a step back first and just try to understand why the conflict appears. And sometimes you understand that the conflict appears just because inside you're not balanced.
Yeah.
So
would you say balanced, like happy or fulfilled, or how would you describe balanced? Like,
yeah, so if I give you an example, if you wake up in the morning feeling that it's going to be the best day of your life, you will have it would be way easier for you to get to understand what are the feelings are, what are the differences between you and someone else.
Yep.
And so if you think that way and say that the emotions that come in a conflict is your responsibility, like you can change them, and if you change them, the conflict can stop, or the conflict can not appear. So it would be a way of avoiding, but at the same time dealing with, because conflict can be everywhere.
Yeah, it's just a differences in opinion. Do you feel? Or no, we spoke about it yesterday as well. A differences in vision or belief systems or values, right? Like everyone's trying to. When there is conflict, it's because we don't agree with what someone else is doing, right? And we can either do it in a proactive way or a reactive way, and generally reactive causes in arguments or some intense kind of conflicts, as opposed to being proactive about it is more going from the line of seeking to understand. Like if I were to have a conflict with you, I'd probably assume I'm going to be proactive about it, and I want to understand where you're coming from so that I can see the way you view.
And why is that?
Because it does avoid conflict, right? Like if
why would you do it with me?
As opposed to anyone else, or I would try to do it with everyone.
Yeah.
So the reason why is because I'm not aware. Like I know I don't know everything, and you might have the answers to something or a different way of viewing things or something that could better improve it. Because I'm more focused on progress, as opposed to going, I'm right, you're wrong. How I do it and how I've always done it's the right way. Because how I've done it to a point and whatever the conflict may be about may have served me to that point, but you might be the next level of helping me be more efficient with it, or taking it to that next level. So why would I try and push my shit on it? The only time I wouldn't even try to do it. I would just go, Etienne, all right, tell me why you feel this way. Because I'm either going to solidify my belief that I am, or my way is correct, and you're probably going to want to listen to me because you felt like you've been able to articulate yourself or explain it, or because I do then get to hear your way of thinking, it may trigger something in me to go, I've never thought of it like that. That is a different way of thinking it. So I view that as very progressive and proactive, as opposed to me just trying to get you to see things my way.
So basically the only thing you understood is that we have different vision, representation of the world.
Yep.
And it may seem sometimes that it's not the same at all, but at the end we can find common ground. Common ground. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if we're always going to go back to that, why do you see that? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? It's like, well, we're both trying to achieve the same fucking outcome.
Yeah.
You just see a different way of doing it, and I see a different way of doing it. Let's see if we can, because if you get two minds working together, or if you get rather than you walking away going, fuck, look, he's a dick. Like, I don't want to work with him. I don't even want to have a conversation with him again. How is that going to best serve the thing that we both see as the end goal.
And myself, what is the emotion after that?
Yeah, angry, man.
Angry.
Pissed off.
Mm.
So it doesn't serve, but a lot of people, and I think it's instilled. Well, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel we're brought up to be reactive? Like when we see conflict, we take everything personally. Like if you were to have a dig at me in the way I do things, I would then go straight into a defense mode where I'm like, nah. It's like fight or flight.
Yep.
Right?
I was about to talk about this. So if we say that a conflict is more than a disagreement,
Mm-hmm.
what happens inside is you enhance stress levels.
Yeah.
So the best way of dealing with conflict is managing that stress.
Yeah.
Trying to find a way to calm down and go to that better state of mind, which enables you to understand, comprehend, and see what the other one sees.
Yeah.
His vision, his way of seeing things.
See the world, well, yeah.
So what was the question again?
But is it fight or flight? Like, is it just when we go? Do you feel that we are? No, I'm not even going to ask that question. But it's like our default response is fight or flight when we get challenged.
Because it's stress.
Yeah.
Stress is that way. Like
Yeah.
if you cross a road and there is a car, you have two solutions. Or you freeze.
Yeah. Get hit by a car.
Or you run away.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit the same with the conflict. Or you avoid it and run away.
So how would you suggest then? Now that we know that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
people who are listening, you now know that. But how do you then go from knowing to then implementing? Because I know I've known this for a while, but there's still times where I get really fucking triggered and I'm like, it's game on here. I'm going to town. And like, how do you? What are the preventative things that you put in place to sort of try and stay on top of the emotion and be proactive instead of reactive in that situation where the stress boils up? Because we all live a really stressful lifestyle now. Like there's more stress today than probably ever before, or it's different
We
stress.
create it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we go to work looking to make ourselves busy and stressed rather than just going fuck.
So that was a really long question. You gotta.
I know, man. I don't even know how to summarize that.
It was about how.
How do you, what measures or what do you put in place to make sure that you don't default to the fight or flight reactive responses?
Who's the concern for? Like, is it for myself or is it for others? That's one of the theories that in psychology research has shown that there is two ways of.
Well, fill us in for both.
Hey.
Educate me on both.
So I was reading that this morning. Blake and Wooten,
Yeah.
two researchers on dual concern model. So there is two way of going through conflict.
Yeah.
If there is a concern for oneself,
Mm-hmm.
or if the concern is for others. So every time you go in a conflict, you're saying, oh, all right. Say.
So would an example be, for example, if I feel like I could be in a situation where I could be hurt, that would make me kind of stressed and probably fight or flight, as opposed to me seeing you in a situation where you could be hurt and I'm viewing it. Is that what you mean?
Not the concern of the outcome of the situation of the conflict. See?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So they say it's I'll put the graph in the comments or in the description under it, but there is forcing, which is totally concerned for oneself. You force it. There is avoiding, which is totally concerned for oneself too.
Yeah.
Only concerned by me. Compromising, then you have both of them, oneself and others.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna go a little bit your way, but you gotta go my way too.
Yeah.
Integrating, that's the best.
Yeah.
You take both of them to the high level.
So it's a win-win. Yes.
Win-win.
Yeah.
And then there is accommodating.
Mm-hmm.
I give you full
range of my
we're gonna do what you say.
But that sacrifices your belief systems. Right?
True. So the best thing is integrating, finding your best solutions, taking minds too, and try and create something else.
Yeah. So evolving and innovating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is cool, and we'll branch out there. So I think this is really interesting, especially on social media, right? We all have a voice now to be able to, whether it's a podcast like this or it's a video or it's a Facebook post, like we have the ability to express what we believe to hundreds, thousands, millions of people, right?
Yeah.
We never used to have that ability. It was just in our local environment. What that then opens us up to is exactly this, right? Conflict with a lot of people, because people might read what I write and get triggered by it or interpret it in a way that it wasn't meant.
Mm-hmm.
So then it then leads to them to go, right, well, I'm going to react to this. I'm not going to integrate and try and understand where Lockie's coming from and get him to understand where I'm coming from. I'm just fucking going at him, right? And so I feel it's doing, there's a lot of brilliant people out there, like with incredible minds, and they see that happening, and they aren't confident or strong enough in themselves to go, I'm not going to voice my opinions because I don't want to deal with that conflict. So instead of getting to a point where we can create a world where there's probably 7-year-olds who are smarter than we are.
Yeah.
But they might have they don't want to put themselves out there to be ridiculed by everyone and voicing their opinions, so they're not doing it. So we never get to learn from those people about how they view the world and what they should see as progressive.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know it's never going to happen, but wouldn't it be
Never say never.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be awesome if we got everyone to a point or a level of awareness where they thought about integrating their opinion and understanding whatever it is that they don't quite get just yet?
Yep.
Because I always, when I read people's posts and if I disagree with them, the first thing I always still try to do is understand where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously people have their beliefs for whatever reason, from the experiences they've had in their life or whatever, and I'm always intrigued to be proven wrong or to solidify my own belief in self or whatever.
Because you're curious.
Yeah.
Curiosity helps you with. You're not going to go into a conflict if you're really curious about the way the person is feeling or the way the person is viewing things.
Yeah.
How could you, if you're curious? You're just asking questions and trying to see more and more empathy, a little bit empathy, even if I don't really like this word because used and overused.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're curious, it's fine. You'll never go into a conflict.
So would you say then people who are constantly in conflict, what would their view of the world be in your opinion as a psychologist?
When they're always in conflict?
Yeah, if it's like
there's something inside.
Yeah, you know how there's constantly people who are just always dealing with shit. You're like, how do you attract that much into your life? Like, where do you feel that comes from?
There is a tendency.
Yeah.
Like when you grow.
Yeah.
When you become an adult, you're trying to find a way to interact with people. Getting into a conflict is getting really emotionally linked with the other one in a way.
Yeah.
So if you like, it's gonna be an example for sure. It's not true, but if I want to go into contact with you deeply emotionally, I can go, I want to be your best friend.
Yeah.
This is a really hard relationship to create.
Yeah.
It takes time. How do you say? I gotta trust you.
Yeah.
All that stuff. How can I go into an emotional relationship with you otherwise? Conflict.
Yeah.
Easy. I can make you feel stuff, even if I'm 10,000 kilometers away from you, just by saying, you got a fat ass. You're stupid.
Do I?
Alright, what you say is not true.
Yeah.
There's this. And on the internet it's so simple to do that.
Yeah.
And you won't read something that everybody says. So those guys who say like harsh stuff, really disgusting and just
the trolls.
Those guys just want to be seen somehow.
It makes them feel significant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it also, I feel when I used to be in conflict just from aggression and I didn't like being challenged.
Yep.
And that, I feel like looking back, that came from my own insecurities. Because or in my head I was already like, I'm fucking a piece of shit, I'm not worthy. And then people were challenging me when I would speak up. So then I was like, I'm just, for one, not going to speak up, but if you challenge me again, I'm going to punch your teeth out. Like, that's one thing I knew I could beat, not everyone, but like I'd back myself. But in terms of being able to express myself, and I still remember when I just moved back from France, I was at a pub where I met Amy, and a guy goes, he was asking me about some experience, or his question was like, why do you think that? And I was like, oh, it's just fucked. Like, that was my response. That was the level of how I could articulate things. And he goes, mate, are you going to give me anything more than just swearing about everything? And I was just like, I got really angry because I was like, how dare you challenge me on how I say that? But then that sat with me for such a long, even obviously I'm talking about it now, it's 7 years later. And I'm thinking like that one thing that he pulled me up on, even though it really pissed me off and made me feel uncomfortable, I was like, now I then started going, right, well, I need to learn how to articulate what I'm feeling in a better way. Where so back in those days, I was like, I could only respond with things in really blunt, non-expressive ways because that's how I'd always done it, and that's where I felt safe and comfortable. So then when I started getting challenged, it was violent. But that one thing was sort of like that slap in the face where I started thinking maybe I could probably articulate myself a bit better rather than getting all defensive and going, fuck you.
And did you really get why you didn't articulate stuff?
Yeah, I just wasn't confident in myself. Like I think I had this presupposition of what it meant to be a man, right? And the men that I'd followed in my life were a few of words, right? So when I wanted to express myself, but I hadn't done it, so I was out of practice. So I was worried about saying the wrong things or worried about how I would be perceived if I spoke a certain way, which then led me to going, right, well, the way that is respected in the men that I know is to go, that's fucked, or that's, you know, that's how I built my character and my image.
Yeah.
So it came from what I was surrounded in and what my view of being a man was.
Yeah, interesting.
Very, very interesting.
There's another thing, if we have time.
Yeah. Well
in the conflict part, never try to attack the people. No, never attack for sure. Yeah. But personality-wise, it's never personality. Like on the internet, you can see that really often. You're that type of guy.
Yeah.
And then that's why I don't like you and stuff.
Yeah.
Always remember that it's always a vision and not the person behind it. And there is a bias in psychological studies that show you that when there is a behavior made, you have the tendency to say that it's part of the character of the person who is doing the behavior.
Yeah.
But it's not. It cannot be. You're not what you do. That is the main thing. In NLP, you see that.
Yeah.
It's one of the presupposition.
Yeah.
You're not what you do. So never go in the conversation with someone telling them about their personality and how they do and how they behave, and it's always like this. It's never always like this.
Complete bullshit. Yeah. Because I used to think that I was what I did, and I was like, I'm a cheater, I'm a thug.
I felt the same way.
I still remember, it would have been 4 years ago now, someone still wrote a comment on a post that I did, or someone shared a post that I did on social media, and they're like, nah, Lockie's full of shit, like, you can't change. I remember reading that and going like, how can we not change? Like, there was probably one point in time when I was a little boy where I had certain beliefs about myself and I used to say certain things about myself, and then those beliefs now don't exist because someone bashed them out of me, not physically, but, you know, through certain things. And I go, well, if I was able to change from that young, ambitious, excited about life and see everything as a possibility 4-year-old kid with a bowl cut, to then going, nah, I'm a cheater, I'm a thug, I'm not worthy, like, that's changed. So if I can change that way, I can sure as hell change back.
What does it tell you about the guy's brain? How does it work? What can you tell the guy who was saying that?
Their stuff. Like, they're never going to enable themselves to change, because if they don't believe you can change, then you can't.
They can't manage their brain to see the change in others.
And it's interesting, right? So if people look at people who change and they go, that's bullshit, that's fake, it's because you're still holding on to the old version of that person you once knew. And you go, nah, that's what I remember them as. And it's like, well, how about you let go of that fucking belief, that version of them, and understand that they've evolved. It's like an iPhone, like, what's on here? It's like me saying, nah, an iPhone 4 can't take selfies. Of course it can't. It didn't have a front cam. iPhone 11 can, right? And it's like, now you just got to understand that the iPhone's still the same shell, but it has a new feature.
Yep.
It's like as we go into becoming people where we shift our beliefs and believe that we can achieve stuff, we can outgrow that version of ourselves we potentially didn't like, then it's like, cool, we're ready for an upgrade. And the reason why a lot of people struggle to change is because we spoke about this the other day, they keep that environment which doesn't allow them to change. They go, nah, you're not that person, you did this, remember? You're full of shit. And then we go, oh yeah, you're right, maybe I shouldn't be that person because I did do that. Rather than going, yeah, I did do that and I learned from that, now I'm this.
You were part of his story.
Yeah.
In his story, the character of his life, there was Lucky, the guy who did that and that. And if you change it, you change his whole world.
Yeah.
When you think like this, you understand a lot of things, like how the other person perceived the world. And you were a big part in his story, and you're breaking it apart because you changed.
Yeah.
So there is two ways of going through this, or you say, "Wow, I gotta." Is it still on?
I don't know. We're still on? Yeah, we're good. Whoa! The gimbal just
we're getting conflict
freaked out.
with the iPhone.
See, that's real life though. This is not edited. Yeah.
So they might have seen you on underwear.
Yeah, I'm not wearing pants. No, but it's true. So what would be 2 pieces of advice you would give to someone dealing with conflict? Like how they could sort of decrease it in their life?
Remember that what you see is what you want to see. And when you go into conflict with someone, they're seeing something else. And in NLP, you know better than me, but the way you perceive the world is, how do you say, filtered?
Yeah.
By values, beliefs, culture, and then there are other filters that makes you delete some infos. That make you generalize some infos and distort. So when you see all those filters, you can really understand that the guy in front of you, or the girl, is not trying to mess with you. She or he has a really different reality, and you're getting in conflict with 2 realities, which are true.
Yeah. Because
they are realities for them. So take a step back and just realize that their reality is true also. That would be the first one. The second one would be manage the stress levels by doing... The step back is the same thing. You can do a step back in your mind. Just get out of the situation, see yourself from behind, higher, and watch how not important it is.
Yeah, we definitely, because we're in the heat of the emotion, we blow something up to be much bigger than it is.
Our body's made for that.
And we're like, well, when you jump back and you're like, well, how much is this actually going to impact my life in the grand scheme of it? If you're arguing with someone about your fucking coffee being burnt, it's like, really? I see it all the time. I'm like, I'll drink your fucking coffee. Yeah, mine. Like, it's not a big deal. We're human. Some people burn coffee. Some people don't like burnt coffee. There's conflict. But it's, in the end of the day, is it going to affect your whole week? Some people act like it, and you're like, pull your fucking head in, man.
I think there's something inside us that is disappointed that we are not all the same. So this is the first reaction. Fuck, he's not like me. He's not the same.
It's funny, right? Like, because we're all worried about self-confidence and not being worthy in comparison, but then we're like, everyone should be like me. What? Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
No. It takes courage, and it takes, again...
I don't know what's going on. The gimbal's getting tired.
It takes courage in being a man or a woman to go at it and say, yeah, you might be right, I might be wrong, and maybe we can find a common ground.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that was fun.
That was fun. Here we go again.
Yeah, we're out because the gimbal's tired, so we're done. Thank you guys for tuning in. You can find Etienne. I'll put his links in the comments. You can find mine. You know where it is. Cheers.
Cheers.